Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. A loving husband to Joe for 50 years, a gentle giant at 6'5" tall, a deep lover of pets, a collector of many things, especially automobilia, and I hear Morris Minors too, a man with a dry and very funny sense of humor, a consummate storyteller, and a loving husband, brother, stepdad, cousin, son, uncle, and friend. We come together today to celebrate the life and mourn the death of Harvey Steinberg. I admit that unlike so many of you, I didn't know Harvey in life, and while I've known his niece Mary for a number of years due to her amazing work on behalf of needy families with the food pantry at JFCS, the Jewish Family and Children's Service of Southern New Jersey, I didn't know Harvey or the extended network of this family before this week. I had the opportunity to spend some time with a number of members of this family, though, who shared with me through a mixture of laughter and tears about their love and respect for Harvey. They painted a picture for me of a funny, caring, and devoted man. You're going to hear more shortly from some members of the family about their sense of who he was and the impact that he had on them. But during our conversation, I learned a bunch. I learned about his deep love for his wife, Jo, with whom he shared a wonderful life for over 50 years. Jo shared with me the story of their meeting at a bank where she worked at the time, their first date, and him getting lost trying to find her home in the dark in Medford Lakes in his Corvette that she didn't know he had. Jo, it was clear to me just how much love was shared between the two of you. And it's my sincere prayer for you that you lean on the supports of family and friends as you navigate the weight of this loss moving forward. Harvey was also deeply connected to his stepson, James, whom I heard he raised as his own. His cousin Abby, who along with her brother David who were raised alongside the brothers, Abby called Harvey a gute neshama, a good soul. He loved Philly sports, traveling with Jo, and he had a deep care for pets, their dogs and cats and all of the cats that came to call Camden Truck Parts home. Speaking of Camden Truck Parts, I learned about his relationship, Harvey's relationship to his brothers, Robert of blessed memory and Howard. The three of them were not only brothers and friends, but colleagues. Camden Truck Parts was a huge part of the lifeblood of this family, providing sustenance for decades. They were, I heard, the third generation in the business, working together for over 40 years and pouring their hearts and souls into it. I was also told that colloquially among the family, Camden Truck Parts was affectionately called the place. It was so definitive for the entire family that though there were other places, this was the place. Upon hearing this, my mind immediately went to the Hebrew for the word the place, hamakom. Makom, while meaning place, is also used in the Jewish tradition as one of the many names of God. It is the word for God that's used when we express our condolences after a death. For example, later when we depart the cemetery, we'll say the traditional line of consolation to the family, Hamakom, Yenachem etchem betoch sha'ar ve'lei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God, Makom, the place, provide comfort to you among all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. May we all find comfort in the place, Hamakom, a place of oneness and unity. And may the memory of Harvey Steinberg, Hillel ben Menachem Mendel v'Devorah, be an everlasting blessing. It occurred to me, my friend and colleague, Rabbi Deborah Waxman, the CEO of the Reconstructionist movement, recently wrote a prayer called Hamakom, and it felt relevant, and I'll share it here. Hamakom, the one who comforts mourners, be with us in these days of pain and worry. As our hearts tremble, bolster us in strength and empathy, and in our understanding of their unbreakable intertwining. Hamakom, the God who creates and transcends space, encourage us in finding a quiet place to settle our nervous systems and discern what is most important to us. Hamakom, the omnipresent, help us to see the vastness of the universe and the beauty of each of its details. Support us in holding the world's multiplicities and complexities. Hamakom, our refuge, aid us in navigating the dance between stillness and action, tikkun nefesh, repair of the self, and tikkun olam, repair of the world, humility and agency, in discovering what we can contribute at each moment. Hamakom, God of capaciousness, give us the expansiveness to hold our dear ones even closer and to work toward peace and equity on behalf of all people. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace in the highest heaven help us to make peace for all Israel and for all inhabitants of the world. And we say, Amen. So once again, welcome. My name's Rabbi Nathan Weiner. I'm the rabbi of Temple Har Zion in Mount Holly, New Jersey. It's an honor, truly, on behalf of myself, my family, the Temple Har Zion community, Platt Memorial Chapels, and Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, to be present with each of you today. To those gathered here in the chapel, and also to those joining us via live stream, Bruchim Habaim, and welcome. Jewish tradition teaches that while the physical body is temporary, the soul is eternal. It's without end. So today, we gather for sacred purpose, to pray for full and complete rest for Harvey's body. And we focus on the fact that his soul, even in death, remains bound to the bond of life, to each of you. And we seek blessings for the continued elevation of his soul. May our time together today have purpose and deep meaning, and may it honor well the memory of Harvey Steinberg, who passed away after sunset on Wednesday evening. More formally, Harvey is predeceased by his brother Robert and Robert's wife Sue, both of blessed memory. He's survived by his beloved wife Josephine and his stepson James and James's wife Mia. He's also survived by his brother Howard and Howard's wife Judy, his sister-in-law Pat, who's the uncle of Mary and her husband Scott, Jennifer and her husband Mark, Arthur and his wife Hope, Andrew and his wife Julie, Stephanie, Stacy, and Michael. He's also survived by his cousins, David and his wife Carol, and Abby and her husband Bob. I pray I got every name right. Okay, good, very good. May your love and care for one another, God willing, hold you and lift you up through this difficult loss and transition. Now going to turn to the words of Tehillim, to Psalms, as we do across all the Abrahamic faith traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, when other words fail us. And most standard, we look to Psalm 23, a psalm used universally at moments of loss and grief. I'll read it first in the Hebrew, followed by a standard translation, albeit masculine translation, in the English. If you're comfortable and are familiar with it, I invite you to say it with me in all or in part, should you choose. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achsar, bin oteshe yarbitzeni al me menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshoveh v'yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'getzal mavet lo irara ki atay madi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zorai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi kosira vaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orach yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen v'amen. And from Kohelet, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what has been planted. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to grieve and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time for silence and a time for speaking. We've now come to a time for speaking. As I mentioned earlier, some members of the family have prepared some words of a hesped, as we say in Hebrew, or a eulogy to lift up Harvey's kavod, his honor. We're first going to hear from his nephew Art, followed by his niece Mary reading something on behalf of her father, Harvey's brother Howard. Art?
Thank you, Rabbi Nathan. It's my honor to come here today to talk a little bit about my Uncle Harvey. It'll probably repeat a fair amount of what Rabbi Nathan has said, but that's okay because there's a common theme here that we all just loved and adored him so much. As you all know, Uncle Harvey, well, my Uncle Harvey, he may be a different familial or friendly relation to you, but to me, he was my uncle. He deeply loved and devoted and doted on you, Aunt Jo. And I know you shared a wonderful life together with adventures big and small. I'll take a detour here for one of those adventures. When my wife and I got married in San Diego, Uncle Harvey and Aunt Jo came out for our wedding, and we got married on a boat in a harbor cruise in the bay in San Diego. And when you would go below deck, the ceilings weren't very tall on this vessel, so as you can imagine, Harvey's head scraped the ceiling. Uncle Harvey's head scraped the ceiling the whole time But I don't think anybody had a bigger smile on his face for the whole night than Uncle Harvey did. I know he had a great time, and he lifted every occasion. And even there, to this day, I've been best friends with my best friend since fourth grade. And he was my best man at the wedding. And just the other day when I told him that Uncle Harvey was ailing, and he said, he sent his best. And everybody loved Uncle Harvey, including my best friend Don. And he said, we still talked about how he could just barely fit under that ceiling on the boat. So that was one memory of an adventure that you guys came out for us. Another one was at my brother's wedding in Las Vegas. Lots of exotic locations here. San Diego, Las Vegas. We had the nicest time with you and Uncle Harvey. I remember we went and saw, there was some car display at one of the hotels there. And of course, we went and saw classic cars there with Uncle Harvey. But it was just such a great time. And his enthusiasm was just so infectious about the things, all things automobilia. And that was a good time. And we had a really lovely lunch with you guys as well. And my wife and I still talk about that all the time. It was such a nice time we had with you all. Well, I know he did. So he just was just the very best. A little bit more about Aunt Jo and Uncle Harvey. They built a beautiful home together in Medford. It was a place full of love and laughter and automobilia and cherished memories. Jay, Uncle Harvey, your stepdad, he loved you and raised you like a son. And he talked about you all the time and how much he loved you. And he was, of course, a wonderful husband and stepfather, a loyal son and brother, of course, a great uncle and a true friend to so many. Uncle Harvey also loved his family business, Camden Truck Parts, and we got the biggest kick out of everything about Camden Truck Parts. Every time we saw Uncle Harvey, he had some Camden Truck Parts swag to give to us, whether it was a hat or a sweatshirt or pens or what have you, and loved every single item and cherished them to this day. As a matter of fact, I had a hat and I was going to bring it and I forgot it, but it's in my bag. Anyhow, so Camden Truck Parts was really very central to Uncle Harvey. The family, truly the family business. He talked about it and bragged about it all the time. Of course, Uncle Harvey loved classic automobiles. His collection and appreciation of anything automobilia brought him great joy. Take a look in his home, in his garages. You can't miss it. Just how much he loved that whole vibe, that whole the world of automobilia. He just got the biggest kick out of it, and he shared that joy and enthusiasm with all of us, and we got a kick vicariously through him. Another thing was the critters. Uncle Harvey loved rescuing the dogs and cats. He took care of many strays at the place. He brought many home. I think there's 4 cats at the house now. There were dogs previously, more cats before. It's to go to Aunt Jo and Uncle Harvey's place. It just nestled in the pines, and there's deer, and just a very tranquil, lovely place. And the cats wandering around and coming home, just a perfect place for them. I know he loved all those little creatures, big and small. Uncle Harvey loved rooting for all the Philly sports teams, and I'm a sports fan myself, and even though I was born, me and my brother and my sister Stephanie, we were all born at Our Lady of Lourdes in Camden, but moved to San Diego. It's been 50 years now. But there's still that Camden and that New Jersey connection. Anyhow, so part of that was talking sports with Uncle Harvey, and he and I would have many conversations about sports. When we would talk on the phone, or the times we would see each other in person, we always dip into a long conversation about the Phillies or the Eagles, and I'm super happy that Uncle Harvey got to see a couple of World Series champion in 2008 and 2 Super Bowl champs in the last several years. So, go Birds. And it was always fun talking to Uncle Harvey about sports. Uncle Harvey loved his many nieces and nephews and enjoyed visiting with them. His grandnieces lovingly referred to him as Uncle Toaster. And, my 2 boys, who are now 23 and 19, when they were real little, there was a trip that I couldn't make, but my wife and my 2 boys came out, and Uncle Harvey and Aunt Jo brought them in, and just, to this day, they still rave about that trip. And my wife and mother-in-law just adored Uncle Harvey, as my 2 boys did as well. And you too, Aunt Jo. They just love you guys very much. And it was a very special trip for them to come out and stay in the house. So just to me, it was always so much fun spending time with Uncle Harvey. Just a really, really neat guy all the way around. It was just a pleasure to be around. His energy, that warm friendliness, that quiet charisma that he put out. He in his way, even though he was a giant, his heart was even bigger still. And he just made everybody more comfortable and at ease. And he was just a special, special person. He was a kind and gentle soul with enormous generosity. He gave so much to so many. His time, his treasure, and his kindness. It had no bounds. So, rest easy, Uncle Harvey. We love you and we'll never forget you.
I'm reading this on behalf of my father, Howard, Harvey's older brother. These are my dad's words. When I was 4 years old, Harvey entered my life. I remember thinking that he was an interloper, and I was no longer going to be the star of the show. And that was pretty much how it went until 5 years later. After that, my youngest brother, Robert, arrived. Now, Harvey and I had to accept that the redheaded baby would take over my parents' attention. In Camden, the Steinberg brothers were known as a trio: Howard, Harvey, and Robert. My mother, Doris, and my Aunt Elsie were attached at the hip. They bought homes on Randolph and Raritan Street in Camden, with their back doors facing each other, across the alleyway, and we became like one family. My cousins, Abby and David, grew up more like siblings than cousins. Even though we were typical siblings with our own squabbles, I remember one time some older kids bullied Harvey when he was about 13. The next day, I confronted these 2 guys and humiliated them in the school cafeteria in front of a large group of kids. I challenged them to come outside and fight me, but they just sat there and shivered. Good thing, because they probably would have kicked the crap out of me. I saw to it that they never teased Harvey again. As you all have heard, my brother was 6'6". It didn't take long for him to surpass me in height. It's kind of hard to be the older brother when he towers over you by half a foot. When my father passed away, Harvey and I found ourselves business partners that lasted for decades. My younger brother, Robert, eventually joined the business as well. It wasn't always easy, but the 3 of us found a way to grow a successful business. Now we weren't just the 3 Camden boys. We were known as the Steinberg brothers of Camden Truck Parts. In addition to working together, all 3 of us shared a passion for antique cars, exotic cars, and other collectibles. I never dreamed that our business would become a sanctuary for every stray cat that came down Route 130. Harvey had such a big heart for stray animals, and eventually, over the years, he brought them home to his house. And it wasn't only cats. One time, a litter of puppies were born at Camden Truck Parts. Harvey took them home, and with Joe, and I think Jay, was able to find a home for each and every dog. Harvey's sense of humor never left him, even during his final days. This past week, I was visiting him. The doctor suggested we say our goodbyes just in case he didn't make it another day. I spoke to him from the heart, and I said, "We had our ups and downs, but I love you, and you were a good brother." He opened his eyes at that point and cracked a smile and said, "Who wrote that poem?" I was there, he did. We shared a good laugh. Rest in peace, Uncle Harvey.
Do you want to speak? Yeah, if you want to. Sure. And we're going to hear from James as well.
Hello, everybody. I am Harvey's stepson, James. Everybody called me Jay. But hearing all these stories, people telling about Harvey, I think it's important to know just how generous he was with me. My father is still alive, and all through growing up, I could never really bring myself to call Harvey my dad or my father. He always introduced me as his son, but I could only call him my stepfather. And I did not treat him the way he deserved to be treated, not from me. But he was always there for me. He paid for my education, both high school and college. Every car I have ever driven, he provided for me, even 2 brand new vehicles. I did not have to do anything special or do to deserve this. In fact, I probably didn't deserve any of it, but he did it for me anyway, because that's who he was. We never got close because, as everybody has mentioned, he loved sports, he loved cars, he loved antiques. I'm a computer geek. We had nothing in common to bond over, except for one thing. On Sunday mornings, back when the David Brinkley Show was still hosted by David Brinkley, he would be sitting downstairs watching the Sunday Talking Heads. But right before the Talking Heads came on, there were the Three Stooges. And the 2 of us would sit there and just laugh our asses off at the TV. We didn't have to say anything to each other. It was just a comfortable silence, sitting together, sharing in scripted absurdity. That was really all we connected on. So, unlike Cousin Art, we didn't really have a lot to talk about. He felt very distant, but he was still there for me. And that is the kind of man that he was. And I miss him dearly. And he truly was my father.
Thank you, Jay. It's with these really moving and heartfelt tributes in mind that we move to the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service, El Malei Rachamim, which asks that as we prepare to inter Harvey shortly at Crescent Memorial Park, that his soul be granted true rest on the wings of God's divine presence. I'm going to read it first in the English, followed by chanting it in the Hebrew. If it's comfortable physically for you to do so, I ask you to please rise. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the divine presence in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as a resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Harvey Steinberg, who has gone to his eternal home. for charity has been donated in remembrance of his soul. May his place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter him with the cover of God's wings forever and bind his soul in the bond of life. The Lord is his heritage. May he rest in his resting place in peace, and let us say, Amen. El male rachamim, shochen bamromim, hamitzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, b'ma'alot kedoshim utehorim, kezohar harakia mazhirim, et nishmat Hillel ben Menachem Mendel b'devora, shehalach le'olamo, ba'avor shnadvut tzedakah ba'ad hazkarat nishmato, b'gan eden dehe menuchato, lachen bal harachamim yastirehu b'seter kenafav le'olamim, v'yitzror b'itzror hachayim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach al mishkavo b'shalom, v'nomar Amen. Please be seated. Some brief announcements. First, immediately following our time here in the chapel, we'll make our way, those going to the cemetery, we'll make our way in processional to Crescent Memorial Park in Pensacola for interment. The family asks that donations in lieu of flowers please be made to any animal welfare organization of your choosing. And guests, family, and friends after interment are welcome to join with the family for visits and a meal of consolation at Brio Restaurant in Marlton.